What's up, guys? King of Linus here. This is going to be part 2. This is going to be the intermediate video. Again, I'm going to try to keep this one short because this is the third time making it, and the other two were like 25 minutes long. So I'm going to keep this short, okay? Basically, we're going to go through the game mechanics and stuff like that. This is intermediate. If you guys need any, if you guys feel like, feel like just looking it up yourselves, it's under Yugioh.com, and it'll be under game mechanics. You got to look under game mechanics because that's probably the best place. Alright, now for intermediates, the first thing we do is card layout, which is attack and defense. Now attack is when it lays straight face up and you can read it fine. So it's not upside down, it's not to the side, something like that. You can read it. It's facing you properly, and the opponent has to read it upside down. So that's face up attack. Defense was when it is face up but turned to the right. So instead of it being like this, it would be like this. It's a bit silly, I know, but basically when you start attacking and going through the battle phase, you'll learn reasons why. If you're attacking one monster against another, if your attack is higher than theirs, their monster will die, unless their card says, it can be destroyed by battle. There are plenty of effects for that. Now, if their monster's in defense position, whether face up or face down, you're going to attack it, and they're not going to take any damage for it because it's in defense position. Unless your card, it says on it, it has piercing damage. Alright, now I'm not going to get into a whole lot of that right now. I'll get into it a little bit later in the video. But basically, your higher attack will always beat their lower defense. As long as your monster has a higher attack or defense, your monster is going to be okay. Alright, now let's see. Level or rank. Alright, so levels are going to be the stars it has under the monster name. Blue Eyes would have level 8, I believe. Different cards. Vanity's Ruler has like 7. Mobius has like 5. The Frost Monarchs, I think, are like 5 in general. I'm sorry, the Monarchs. Monarchs are good cards to look into. So, all right, now rank. Rank would be Ixie's style monster, which is a black. It looks all black, and it looks a little weird, but it's all black, and it'll show 3 stars, but it'll be called rank. The thing about ranks is, since they're not considered star levels, they're immune to most cards that require star levels, things like that, like trade-ins, things like that. Still great cards, like the Volzars, the Lagia, the Doka, the Sold, or Sold, whatever. Those are great cards. Alright, continuing on, we have Attribute. Real quick, Ixies do have special rules to them, which I'll get into later. They usually have to discard or drop one of the cards that was used to summon them to the graveyard. And to use one of their effects, whatever it may be. Alright, and Attribute. An Attribute's going to be in the top right corner. It'll be wind, water, fire, earth, whatever. And those are important depending on what kind of monsters you're using, what kind of things like that. A good duelist will know most cards. Not every single card, but will know what cards run what. Blackwings, some are dark, some are wind, things like that. Alright, next we'll have Type. Type of monster is exactly as it sounds, type. There's fiends, there's lightning, there's fiends, there's zombies, there's a bunch. Alright, next is set number, which you don't really have to worry about. That just tells you what set it came from. Like Order of Chaos is ORCS, and then EN for English, and then the number of the card. So it just tells you what set it came from. So, if you're looking it up. Alright, card number. Again, nothing you need to worry about. It's just a number at the bottom that, tells you the name of the card, or the number. Effect or flavor text. Alright, this is the important part of the card. It'll say like fiend / effect if it's an effect monster. Basically what it means is it's a fiend, and depending if it's a flip effect or just a trigger or ignition effect. Again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but basically it just says effect on it. Now the effect can be whatever it may be. Some are flip effects, which is you set them face down defense, so face down to the right, and if they get attacked, they flip up, or if it's your turn, you flip them up, and you get that effect. Other cards have different effects, like they don't be destroyed by battle, or they can take 2 or 3 hits before they get destroyed, things like that. Alright, and next we're going to have limitation text. Limitation text is exactly like effect or flavor text. Basically, some cards say they cannot be special summoned. That is limitation text. It stops you from special summoning it. There are ways around that though, such as Light and Darkness Dragon. Great card. You can't special summon it, but you can normal summon it, and by that I mean you can tribute 2 monsters for it, or you can play Mausoleum of the Empire, or the Emperor, sorry. Pay 2,000 life points, because that's how that card works, and you can just normal summon that card. Great card to look into. Great card. Alright, next we're gonna have main deck. Alright, I'm gonna show you my mat, and I'll show you where everything goes, okay? Alright, so basically this is gonna be it. This is gonna be the main deck. Main deck here. This is the graveyard. If something dies from the field, it automatically goes here. Alright, unless it says RFP or banished, which means it gets removed from play. Which means instead of it going here, you can put it to the side or whatever. Alright, now you have 5 spell and traps that you can set, and I will get into that in a little bit. Because I know some of these cards you may look at and you don't know what they mean. You also have 5 magic and trap zone, or sorry, monsters. With the current meta and things like that, everything is special summoning. So if you're going to run a deck, you need speed for it, so special summoning is something to look into. Alright, now field card zone. This is basically where your field card is going to go. If you run Psychics, it would be Brain Research Lab. If you run Gladiator Beasts, it would be Coliseum. If you run Zombies, it would be Zombie World. Just a bunch of different ones out there. Alright, and extra deck. This is where your Fusion, Sync, and Ixies monsters are going to go. Now, they do have Dark Synchros coming out. Again, it would all go here. Alright, it does not go into the main deck. You do not draw from the main deck. Or you don't skip a draw phase and then draw from here. That is not how it works. Don't do that. Alright, draw your regular hand, and then when you're syncing or special summoning or whatever, that's when you pull the card you need, because you look through here, pull the card you need, and that's when you place it. Okay? So that's how that works. And I'll get back to that in a minute. Alright, guys. Sorry for the bad lighting. Alright, now let's see. Next up, we have... okay, life points. If you don't know, it doesn't work like the anime. It actually is 8,000 life points per duel, and you're going to do best 2 out of 3. I know a beginner fact, but whatever, it has to be said. Alright, now damage. There are different kinds of damage. There is effect damage, which will be you flip a monster, because some of it is effect, some of it is flip effect, same difference. It'll have effect damage like you summon it, and the other person loses 500 life points. Or you flip it, and for every monster they have, they lose, you know, a couple hundred life points. Things like that. That's effect damage. Now you need to know these because they all differ. There's effect damage, there's piercing damage, which I'm going to get into right now, which is if your monster has a higher attack and it says piercing damage on it, or it says if your monster has a higher attack than their defense position monster, inflict a difference is battle damage. It's piercing damage. It's the same thing as battle damage. Basically, you're just using the pierce effect, which is you subtract your attack from their defense. Okay. There are great cards for that. There's Spear Dragon, there's Air Knight Parshaft, there's a bunch of different ones. Okay. Let's see. Alright. Battle damage, effect damage, things like that. There's magic and spells for effect damage, and there's also ways to throw it back. Spell of Pain, things like that. Great cards. Alright, next we're going to have 3-card rule. The 3-card rule is basically this. You're only allowed 3 of any card in your deck and main deck. Sorry, your deck, fusion deck, and side deck combined. Okay? So basically, you can have 3 Cyber Dragons and 3 Proto Cyber Dragons because they're different cards, even though Proto Cyber Dragon imitates Cyber Dragon. Here's the kicker. If a card is limited, you're only allowed 1 in all 3. So if you have 1 Blackluster Soldier, you can't have 1 in your main deck and then 1 in your side deck. It doesn't work like that. You're only allowed 1. Alright? So the rule of 3 is you can have 3 of any card as long as it's unlimited. You have to pay attention to the limit and ban lists. So if you guys want, take a quick second, look those up on Wiki right now. Okay. Alright, next up is Spell Speed. Now Spell Speed is one of those tricky ones. There is 3 different levels to it. Give me a second while I click on it. Now, I'm going to break it down for you because these are things you need to know. Spell speed doesn't only have to do with spells, it does with traps and monster effects too. So this is how it's going to work. Alright, let's do spell speed 1. Alright. The way it works is it all works as a chain. Spell speed 1 will be the slowest, 2 will be faster, and 3 will be top. Alright, and they have different cards for each. Alright, now spell speed 1 is the slowest, obviously. It can You cannot chain this card to another spell speed 1 card. Alright, and these are the kinds of cards. Alright, normal, field, continuous, equip, or ritual spell cards. If somebody plays Ground Collapse, you can't chain one of your Acts of Despairs to it. You can't, because they work at the same speed. Alright? Plus, you know, you're breaking their turn, your turn magic rules. Alright, so also are flip, / ignition, and trigger effects. You just can't do it. You can't chain one card to the same level. You have to go faster. It's a little funny, but I mean, it's something you kind of need to grasp. So, if you don't understand it, feel free to look it up on Wikia. Wikia is the #1 site for things. Alright, next up is Spell Speed 2. It can be used in response to Spell Speed 1. Okay? So if they play this, these are the cards you play to beat Spell Speed 1. Okay? Alright. Spell Speed 2 are quick play spells. The most famous is MST, which is Mystical Space Typhoon. Alright, now you have quick play spells, you have normal and continuous trap cards, and then you have quick effects. Quick effects are different than ignition and trigger effects because quick effects usually work faster. The only thing that differentiates the two is I believe quick effects say during either player's turn. Ignition or trigger effects only apply for your turn. I'm sure there's going to be stipulations to the rules because there's so many cards out there and there's so many little tiny rules you need to know about. But this is just the basics for now, okay? So, quick effects. Alright, and then Spell Speed 3 is counter traps. Nothing beats a counter trap but another counter trap. That's the only thing you can do. If they play Solemn Warning against, your Mystic Tomato, so you can't special summon it, you can play Solemn Judgment to their Solemn Warning. You cannot chain a Solemn Warning to a Solemn Warning. It doesn't work like that. So, you can chain a counter trap to a counter trap. Alright, next up, battle position. I went over that with y'all. Face up attack, face up defense. If it's face down and it gets attacked, you don't get the effect unless it's a flip effect or it's a do not be destroyed by battle effect. If you set it face down, you're not activating the effects. It's just the way it is. Also, depending on the card they're using, because some cards do have bounce effects, such as Neospatian Grand Mole, or they have negate effects like SASUKE Samurai. Alright, so let's see. Next up, we're going to do face up, face down, flip. Drawing. Alright, now drawing is one of those kind of tricky things. In order to win this game, you need to draw the cards you need. So, you do 5 cards on the first turn, and then you draw the 6th. The best way to do this is to have draw power in your deck. If you want to be competitive, you're going to need a draw engine. Just look up draw engine on Wikia, and you'll know what I'm saying. So basically, you're going to want cards that do that. Pot of Greed is banned, but it used to be you play it and you draw 2, so it's a +1 in my opinion. Alright? There are cards for that. There are cards that stop you from drawing. There are cards that stop you from drawing only during your draw phase. There's a difference. If it's only in the draw phase, you can only draw once per turn. Once. If it says stops you from drawing completely, then you can't draw at all. Pickup. Pickup is different than drawing. Picking up is not the same as drawing. If you pick up cards, you're not drawing them. So, it's just the way it is. If it says pickup, it's not the same as draw. If it says draw, it's not the same as pickup. It's going to be a little tricky, but Wikia it, and you'll get what I'm saying. Alright, hand size limit. You're allowed 6 cards in your hand. At the end of the turn, if you have more than 6, you need to discard 1. That's just the way it works. Sorry. There are cards around that, though. Flip. You set it face down defense, they attack, and you have a flip effect. This has to say flip on the front of it, otherwise it's just a trigger effect. Manager Bug would be a great example. Hane, Penguin Soldier, things like that. Set would be you set a card face down, whether it have a flip effect or not. If it doesn't have a flip effect, then you're just setting it. Setting is just a general term. Okay, it's not, you don't set a monster and face up attack. You just don't. It's set is face down defense. You can never summon a monster and face up defense. That's a rook move. Don't do that. Set will be face down defense. And they're for things like Spirit Reaper, things like that. All right. Tribute. Tribute is the same as set basically, except it's different. I know that's confusing, but listen. You're only allowed one normal summon or set per turn. You're allowed as many flip summons as you want and special summons as you want. So take advantage of that. Alright, so a tribute summon is you have a level 8 monster, you need 2 monsters to tribute for that, unless the card on it says otherwise. Listen to the card effects. Okay? You will win games by listening to card effects and knowing rulings. So basically, depending on the star level, 5 or 6 needs 1 tribute. 7 to 8 need 2, unless if it's like a 9 or a 10. Look at the cards. Some say you only need 1 tribute or 2 or 3 or 4. It just depends on what the card says. Look at the card, read it, learn how to play around it. Alright, a good duelist knows his deck in and out. In and out. Alright, and a tribute set. A tribute set is basically the same as a tribute, but instead of it doing face up for effects, you put it face down defense. It's more of, I'm going to let them guess what I have, because if you're going to tribute for it and then set it, it's a little confusing, because they're going to be like, why did you tribute it and then set it? So it could be a high defense, it could be a flip effect kind of monster, it just depends. Alright, next up is Fusion. A Fusion is a special summon. A Fusion is basically 2 monsters on the field, plus Polymerization or Fusion Gate, and then you send those to the graveyard, and then you pull from your extra deck, remember, extra Fusion, extra Synchro, extra Ixies, extra deck. You pull it from there, and you special summon it onto the field. Okay? Ritual is basically, I think that's a special summon as well. You play a ritual spell, and then you have to meet the certain conditions of that ritual. So if it says up to or more than 8, tribute as many monsters as you want for that 8. Special summon that monster, boom, special summon on the field. Okay? Synchro, it's a little newer. Synchro is the white cards. Those are the ones that say 1 tuner plus blank, 1 or more non-tuner monsters. There are stipulations. There are some cards that only work with others. Some say psychic tuners, some say synchro tuners. It just depends. You need to match the star levels on those, though. It needs to be the appropriate monsters and the appropriate star levels. If the star levels don't match up, you can't do it. It's just the way it is. There are cards around that, though. Dark Synchro. Dark Synchro is the newest one. It just came out with the Order of Chaos set. I don't think anyone's going to be using it yet, even for regionals now. Basically, you're doing it, but in reverse with synchroing. You're doing like a level 9 minus a level 3 Dark Tuner. It has to say Dark Tuner on it. So you're doing 9 minus 3 equals 6. So you can have a level 6 Dark Synchro monster. Okay? That's how it works, but in reverse. Excel Synchro, Delta Excel Synchro. I'm not going to get into those. Basically, that's TG Halberds, TG Halberd cannons, things like that. If you want to get into those, you can. I personally don't. Wiki it, and you'll learn a little bit more. But you need to learn how to do the basic synchros before you do those. Alright, and then you're going to do Ixies. Ixies is basically the black cards. It sounds kind of racist, but the black cards. For those, it doesn't matter. You don't need tuners. You just need 2 of the same level monsters. So if it says 2 level 5s, you need 2 level 5s. If it says 2 level 3s, you need 2 level 3s. Usually the best ones usually have stipulations. So that's going to be the intermediate. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, just want to let me, if I'm doing a bad job or not, let me know. Comment, please. And if you feel that my videos are worth like 5 minutes of your day, because I know I don't do them daily, but you know, I try to break them up as I go. If you feel that my videos are worth 5 minutes of your day, please, you know, rate, comment, subscribe. So that'll be intermediate. Next is going to be advanced, and then expert. Hopefully I can get all these done out in the week, so I can go to regionals happy. So for now, that'll be it. Kings and Liners out.